Greetings. I want to talk about some low-key fat loss tips that have helped me in the last few months, the last 6 months to be precise, and I'll be showing you these results in the next few weeks in photos. Now, I've always been able to keep my fat levels pretty low, and I do that because I gain fat in all the wrong areas: my neck, my belly, love handles, probably the worst places a man can gain fat because the belly and the neck are the hardest places to lose fat, in my opinion. Even at low fat levels, these areas can pose a problem for me and a lot of other people. But recently, after revisiting some fat loss strategies and doing a little more study and tweaking, I've been able to sneak in a few more little known strategies that will peel more fat off than just cardio and watching your nutrition alone. Now, you're probably not going to believe this unless you've tried it successfully, but here it goes. Water. Now, before you think I'm crazy, let me qualify my position. I always knew that drinking enough water helps you in your fat loss efforts, and that's basically how I saw it. But lately, I've been hearing that drinking copious amounts of water can cause the body to shed more fat than it would under quote unquote normal circumstances, even when you take in consideration cardio and other factors. The water would expedite or increase this process. So, after a little study and understanding the effect of drinking too little water, I was then motivated to try this simple solution. Well, it seemed simple for me, or to me, too simple to actually be effective. But I decided to try this simple solution out for the long haul, and it worked. And it worked well. Simply drinking more water caused a noticeable fat loss. And here's why, because I had to find out the science behind it. Some people are simply satisfied with, well, it works because it's just good for you. And that's cool, but to me, I find more motivation and understand the mechanics behind something. If I get it in my mind that I do this and the mechanics will start to function in this way, causing that, then that gives me more of a motivation to follow through or to proceed with something. All right, just the way my crazy mind works. But this is how it works. The system that regulates blood, fluid, and mineral balance inside the body is called the renin-angiotensin aldosterone system, or RAS. And I'll just say RAS to prevent all of that verbal acrobatics. All right. So it's the RAS system, the renin-angiotensin aldosterone system, RAS. So let me explain this. I'm not going to read over this again. I'm just going to narrate it real quick for you. When your blood pressure drops, okay, the kidneys secrete renin, which combines with angiotensin to make angiotensin 2, which causes your blood vessels to constrict and narrow, and this in turn increases your blood pressure. Now, this is how your body maintains proper blood flow. But when this happens, the adrenals also secrete aldosterone. This causes the body to start to recycle sodium and water, okay? And it gets rid of potassium, a mineral. It starts to excrete this mineral and other minerals in order to maintain this balance. Now, the process is more complex, but in short, when this happens, the body continues to recycle water and salt, pulling it from the urine through what they call the loop of Henle. And what does this cause? It causes mineral loss, water and salt retention, and eventually high blood pressure if you let it get out of control. Now the question is, can not drinking enough water cause all of this? Absolutely. The system can be activated by dehydration, and most people in the US are chronically dehydrated. Now, with the body holding on to water and salt, and most people eating even more salt, since 80% of the processed and restaurant foods are processed with salt, you get the perfect recipe for impeding fat loss, if not direct fat gain. Right? As we see here, a study found that High salt intake had a positive relationship with body weight and body mass index, even after correcting for calories. All right. And this study reported a significant association of salt intake with obesity and central obesity after correcting for total energy intake. Right. In a cross-sectional study with 184 people, waist circumference and body fat mass increased with increased salt intake. All right, so you can pretty much understand what, if the body's constantly intaking salt, whether it's external or it's recycling its own salt, what's happening here concerning fat loss. Now, interesting, it says these studies could not determine if there is a causal relationship between salt intake and obesity. Thus, it is unclear whether obesity is caused directly by salt intake or by bad eating habits accompanied by excessive sodium consumption. And causal relationship just means that they can't make a definite connection because there are other factors involved. All right, so if you ever see that causal relationship when you're reading test results or test scores or whatever, understand that they even say here causality in medicine is complex since it can be difficult to establish a cause-effect relationship. For example, they give the example: arterial hypertension is a known risk factor for stroke, but most people with hypertension will not have a stroke. And most people who have strokes are normotensive, meaning they have normal blood pressure. So since these things don't necessarily have to happen all at once, or they don't all have to be factors in each and every incident, that's the reason that they cannot make a causal relationship between these things. But none of this changes the fact that having high blood pressure increases the risk of stroke, just like the study showing salt intake and water retention are related, but since other factors are involved, they can't medically make a definite or causal connection between just salt and obesity, or just salt and fat gain. Now, if dehydration activates this system of salt retention and water retention, but high blood volume stops it, we drink more water, we increase the blood volume, we stop the Henle loop, where the body holds on to salt and water, making fat gain easy by increasing fat storage. If the kidneys and the liver are struggling to maintain blood and mineral homeostasis, your liver will not effectively metabolize fat, which is one of its main jobs. Thereby, your fat burning is inhibited. The body is a complex machine that we often take it for granted with reference to all of the delicate operations that it is in charge of. To be very simple, water is the oil our machine uses to move every part, to process every enzyme, to process every hormone, to conduct cellular activity and reproduction, waste, and of course fat oxidation or fat burning. If the body is in a state of emergency with regard to holding on to water and salt to compensate for dehydration, then it stands to reason that there's going to be minimal, if any, room for it to process the oxidation and burning of fat. So you see, there is a science to why drinking more water helps to burn fat. And I just happen to be nutty enough to dig into it and show my perspective of it, according to the facts of that I read. And I can attest to this, and again in a few weeks I'll show you visually how it's affected me. But until next video, peace. If you learned from this video, help support the study and time to bring this knowledge to our community. It does take time and effort to be concise and as accurate as possible so that we can stay abreast of important health information and techniques. Please visit the site and follow these links.